Tonight on Reporting Scotland, long queues and flights cancelled. The global Microsoft outage meant travel disruption for passengers at Edinburgh Airport.
You know, we're just going with the flow, just having a good attitude. That's just the way it is.
It's fine. You just have to deal with it. Just deal with it. Keep smiling.
Also in tonight's programme, thrown out of the army for being gay. We hear the story of a former soldier still waiting for compensation after his military career was destroyed. Working parents tell us of the childcare challenges they're facing during the summer holidays. Hello, I'm Sally Magnuson. Welcome to Friday's programme. Edinburgh Airport bore the brunt here of today's global IT outage. Around 6 o'clock this morning, departure boards appeared to freeze, showing out-of-date information about gate numbers and take-off times. More than 50 flights were cancelled, and at times, queues stretched out of the terminal building. The cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike said the global IT issue had been caused by a defect in a content update. Our reporter Stephen Godden has more.
Mid-morning at Edinburgh Airport, and the queue for security snakes around the terminal building. An IT failure had crippled much of the technology, leaving passengers facing a day of uncertainty, cancellations and frustration. Your flight left without you and 50 other passengers, but you didn't know anything about it.
Women, children, babies, people trying to get home to their own homes because they've been on holiday, the likes of my partner and myself who were going for our holiday, and basically the ground information was, well, it was the pilot's decision, he didn't care, he had a slot time, he was leaving.
This woman thought she'd made it to her departure gate in time, only to discover her plane had left without warning.
We got through security and then all the alarms started going off. And then what I hadn't realised is that the departures board wasn't updating and the tannoy wasn't working. So if you weren't at your gate through some miracle, I don't know how you would have got to your gate, we missed the flight.
This is due to an ongoing IT issue and will be rectified as soon as possible. Your patience and understanding at this time is appreciated.
Staff here at Edinburgh Airport first knew they had a problem around 6 o'clock this morning. At that point, it was affecting every aspect of their operations. Here, in the terminal building, for example, some airlines had to switch to manually checking in passengers. That meant congestion and confusion as the information screens succumbed to the global IT failure. One expert caught up in the delays had this advice for other passengers.
Just be patient. It isn't a cyber attack and it's not Armageddon type solution. We will get this fixed.
At the height of the problems, Edinburgh Airport stopped accepting incoming flights that weren't already in the air. This family were delayed in Alicante, where temperatures reached 40 degrees.
It's more the fact that there's the heat that we have, and there really isn't communication from the airline, unfortunately, so it's very difficult.
It's been a bit of a nightmare in that because we're stuck in arrivals, there is no seating whatsoever. So I'm sitting cross-legged on a marble floor and I can't get up again.
The airport say their systems were fully restored by mid-afternoon, by which time cancellations were mounting.
So we've seen 50 flights cancelled today, which is a significant amount of passengers, 30 departing flights. So that's a number of passengers that came to the airport and were processed and have had to go home. So we've had a lot of work in processing those queues, working with those passengers, looking after them and making sure that they can come back and rebook and get to where they want to be.
But for those passengers with nowhere to go, the only option was to sit and wait.
And now we're trying to get a hostel, but we don't find any, and now we're stuck at the airport.
It was really confusing, and it's ridiculous that no one's taking care of this.
I don't know anything. Ryanair, no say with me, no say me, my girlfriend, nothing.
The worst is over, but this problem that began on the other side of the world will still take time to fully resolve.
And Stephen joins us from Edinburgh Airport. Now, it will take time, you say, Stephen. What's the latest this evening?
Yeah, this evening, Sally, things are largely back to normal here in one sense. Edinburgh Airport say that their systems are back working as they should. Everything as it should. You walk through the terminal building and the queues that were there earlier today, they've gone, and the restrictions that were on aircraft earlier in the day have been lifted, so aircraft can come and go. So in that sense, the situation is a lot better than it was a few hours ago. But we do still have that backlog, and that will take into the weekend to deal with. There were 55 cancellations in total today, and getting aircraft back into position will take time. Now, of course, for passengers, there is still the stress of rebooking their trips. You walk through the terminal there are people sitting at the side with nowhere to go, so they have the stress of finding some accommodation while they decide what to do. And some of the people that I spoke to today have just simply decided to give up on their trips after their cancellation. So for them, the damage in this situation has already been done.
Oh, well, thanks very much indeed, Stephen Godden there at Edinburgh Airport. Let's speak now to our correspondent, David Henderson. How bad are things generally beyond the airport?
Well, Edinburgh Airport's had the worst of it, but there have been sporadic problems elsewhere. Ticketing problems at the Royal Concert Hall in Glasgow and Hearts Football Club in Edinburgh. Some supermarkets have had problems with their tills in the course of the day, but by contrast with England particularly, there appears to have been minimal impact on NHS services. We know of one GP practice in the North East which has been disrupted, so government ministers say that NHS patients should continue to attend all of their appointments.
We hear it's a software update that's gone wrong rather than anything malicious, which is something.
Yeah, and it shows how much damage can be done with a well-meaning routine update designed to boost cyber security, and all because this programme had access to the inner workings of Microsoft computer systems. Of course, it had to be like that because it's designed to tackle malicious software and track down hackers, people who are raking around in databases. But as we've learned, when this software fails, it can bring a whole system to a juddering halt. And there are suggestions tonight that from what the company has said that this was a very, very small change that they were trying to bring about. Experts think it could be something as innocuous as changing the font or the logo on the software design. So a tiny problem with a global impact.
Yeah, extraordinary. The fix they've provided doesn't sound all that simple to implement, though. How long is it going to be before everything gets back to normal?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, the company involved, CrowdStrike, they have put out a fix already. They say that anyone with an affected computer have to do what's called a manual reboot in safe mode. So it's not the simplest of fixes on the face of it. And of course, some of those affected computers are more accessible than others. Computers are everywhere, of course. We're now into the weekend. It's holiday season as well. So all that could blunt the response. And as Stephen said, of course, at the airports particularly, the damage has already been done. So it could be quite some time before things are really back to normal.
David, thank you very much for that. Now, the biggest council union has rejected a new pay offer which councils hoped would see off the threat of bin strikes. It would have seen council workers getting a rise of 3.2%, backdated to April. The two other big council unions, Unite and the GMB, will decide on the offer on Monday. Paul Wilson joined the Army Band at the age of 15, but his career was brought to an abrupt end when officers discovered he was gay. A year ago, the UK government apologised for the way the armed forces had treated men like Paul and said it was working to make reparations. Paul is still waiting for compensation. 35 years after leaving the army, he's been sharing his story for the first time.
Basically, I had to live a secret life, hiding, watching every move I made, making up stories, making up girlfriends. Out the army within 4 months after that, I had a full career in front of me, wrecked. My name is Paul and I was a Lance Corporal in the Royal Highland Fusiliers Regimental Band from 1983 to 1988. There was lots of highlights, lots of prestige events. We've done the opening of the Garden Festival. We have done the tattoo plenty of times. When I discovered I was gay, it was illegal to be gay in the British Army. The military were actively seeking out gays by going into the pubs, trying to chat people up, see if they were gay, and if they did chat somebody up, they would get arrested there and then on the spot. Everything was so secretive and behind closed doors. You were fighting for your own life going out. They found out I was gay through an act of revenge from somebody that I was friends with. The whole tattoo parade was out on parade. We were at the back ready to come on, as marching on, and they arrested me there. I never seen the bandsman again. Right here marks the spot. To think that my career was over within minutes, taken away, wrecked. I was in Edinburgh Castle, put in the prison, where I eventually did crack and admitted I was gay. Methods for interrogation was terrible. Basically, it was a witch hunt to get me out, and they would do anything they could to get me out, and they did.
The ban on LGBT people serving in our military until the year 2000 was an appalling failure of the British state.
Last year, Rishi Sunak formally apologised to everyone that had been affected. We're still waiting for compensation to be given. It's an experience I'd like other people to know about, because there's so many people out there don't know this went on. It's something that was us. It was my life. After 5 years cut short.
Paul Wilson. And in response to Paul's story, the UK government said it deeply regretted the treatment of LGBT serving personnel between 1967 and 2000, which was, they said, wholly unacceptable and didn't reflect today's armed forces. The statement went on, "We have already implemented over half the recommendations, including work to construct an LGBT community memorial and apology letters from service chiefs. More information will be provided soon on restorative measures." Now, childcare. Always a challenge for working parents during the summer holidays. Now the charity Quorum Family and Childcare is suggesting that the average cost of holiday clubs is on the rise. Gillian Sharp has been hearing from some parents about how they're managing.
Green light. Red light.
Fun to be had, of course, but the school holidays can be difficult for parents who work. Very few will have annual leave which covers the weeks needed. This club doesn't charge, but many do, an extra burden to add to other costs.
It's a lot of sacrifices in the summer rather than looking forward to creative activities for the kids. You're sacrificing just to maybe get them a day at a soft play or something as well, because you've got clothing, food, travel, everything included with that. It seems like year upon year as the kids get older, it just seems to get more excessive.
It's really hard. Taking time off is not easy as well. Like you say, cost of living is just crazy at the moment. So yeah, it is difficult during the summer holidays for a lot of people. Luckily enough, with me, my type of business, it allows me to take some time off.
The charity Quorum Family and Childcare says figures on the cost of holiday childcare it has collected suggest there's been a 4% rise in Scotland since last year, less than the 6% in Britain as a whole. It says getting this right is crucial.
For most families, work doesn't stop during the school holidays and children still need to be looked after. So parents are left bridging that gap. For working families, it can cause a huge amount of worry. And for families on low incomes, those high costs can be simply unaffordable.
The Scottish Government points to funding to deliver free school meal alternatives for eligible families during holidays, as well as a £16 million project designed, it says, to understand what it takes to deliver year-round local childcare systems, including during school holidays.
Go!
And with weeks of time off still to go, for many parents, the juggle continues. Gillian Sharp, reporting Scotland.
Groups representing people with severe disabilities are calling for more fully accessible toilets in public spaces. At the moment, there are around 290 toilets across the country with extra space and specialist equipment. But campaigners say more are needed and that a lack of these facilities means some people are unable to leave their homes. Louise Hosey reports.
Jill, who has cerebral palsy, has campaigned for years for more fully accessible public toilets in Scotland. She was instrumental in getting this Changing Places toilet installed in Clyde Shopping Centre. it's made a huge difference to her life.
For example, before it was installed, I needed to rush home to get the toilet, but now I can spend all day here because of the changing places. My 6 years of campaigning has paid off.
Despite this success, Jill says there's still a severe lack of such facilities across Scotland. Her fight for them goes on.
When I know that I am going somewhere, the first thing comes into my head is, will I get access to a changing places toilet? And really, that's terrible for 2024.
Changing places toilets are more spacious than standard accessible ones, containing specialist equipment including hoists and changing benches. There are currently 289 of them in Scotland, but campaigners including Muscular Dystrophy UK and the social inclusion charity PAMIS say more are desperately needed. Jenny struggled to find suitable facilities for her late son Craig, who had quadriplegic cerebral palsy. She was often forced to change him on a toilet floor or in the back of a car, something she says was undignified and unacceptable.
People who need these facilities have the right to not have their lives curtailed by something that you and I take for granted. It's a human need. If there isn't the facilities out there in the community for them, or where they want to go or need to go, they're stuck.
The Scottish Government says it's investing £10 million in fully accessible toilets. It says funding for this will be allocated by the end of the parliamentary term. Louise Hosey, reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
You might remember earlier in the week we told you about the Second World War's last surviving Victoria Cross holder. RAF pilot John Cruikshank, who's now 104, was awarded the highest military honour for sinking a German U-boat in 1944 and flying back severely injured. This week he was honoured with a flypast over his home in Aberdeen. Well, that story sparked a reminiscence from 91-year-old Jim Nicholson on the right there. As an 11-year-old in Shetland, he witnessed John Cruikshank's Catalina arriving back at base from the attack and never forgot the sight.
It was making a peculiar noise, and this was pieces of the fuselage which had been shot away, and it was flapping around the aircraft. And it was only a couple of days later that we realised and heard the news that the pilot had been wounded 72 times.
Jim Nicholson there. Sport now, and Sheila is at Royal Troon for day 2 of an extremely blustery Open. Sheila, hello.
Hello, Sally. Yes, indeed. Yes, round 2 is drawing to a close here, but there's still plenty to be decided ahead of the weekend action. As you said there, and as you can probably see by my hair, the wind is once again being a big factor out here on the course, with Scotland's Robert McIntyre, one of those, having plenty of problems out there, while Ireland's Shane Lowry has a 2-shot lead. Our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin has been taking a look at the action so far.
Ready to take what comes, take what's given to me out there, and almost ready to, without being negative, I'm ready to, anything that's thrown at me, I feel like I'm ready to take it on the chin and move on.
Here in Scotland, so I've always enjoyed playing up here, and I've enjoyed the different types of links that Scotland brings, and the challenges are. I've missed playing Troon. It's been a long time. I remember playing here way back in '97, so I've had some good memories here. I just wish that they were a little bit better, and look forward to it.
Well, for the second day running, Chris is here with me, and Chris, the weather's playing a factor again.
Yeah, it really is. It's a proper test of links golf this year. Lots of attritional golf rather than attractive golf out there today. Lots of wayward tee shots, lots of approach shots pinging through the green. It's really been interesting to watch the leaderboard today, because lots of players trying to consolidate what they have rather than try to climb the table, try not to drop down that table, and that's going to be really key for Shane Lowry, who, as you said earlier on, has that 2-shot lead.
There was lots of hope for Robert McIntyre after winning the Scottish Open last weekend. It's not gone so well for him today, though.
No, I mean, he put himself in a good position yesterday, 1 over going into today, and from the very start it really just went wrong for Bob McIntyre. A double bogey at the first. He's still out there at the moment, but he's on 7 over par. He looks like he's going to miss the cut. He, of course, had that success at Renaissance Club, the Scottish Open last weekend. He wasn't massively talking up his chances here at this weekend, and so it's proved it's just not to be his weekend.
He's not the only one that struggled out there, though. A lot of big names have missed the cut.
None more so than Rory McIlroy, who had a shocker today. In fact, at times Rory McIlroy was just laughing his way around this golf course. Things were going so badly for him. He's not missed the cut in the Open since 2019. Tommy Fleetwood hasn't missed the Open cut since 2016. He won't be here at the weekend. And of course Tiger Woods, again struggling for fitness. He finished 14 over par. So, you know, Fleetwood expected, I think, a lot more. Bob McIntyre said yesterday that this course was a beast, and so it's proved for many players.
Tiger Woods, we heard a big cheer when he came up the 18th, but he doesn't think it's going to be his last time in Scotland.
Yeah, and that will be music to a lot of golf fans' ears, because I think many people continually asking Tiger Woods the question, is this it? Is this the final time we'll see you? And he says, look, I love playing in Scotland and I will definitely be back.
Chris, and you'll be following the action over the weekend.
Well, indeed.
Thank you very much, Chris. Well, that's all the sport from a windy Royal Troon, where a big weekend is in store.
Thanks very much, Sheila. Enjoy yourself the rest of the Open. Now, the annual HebCelt festival has begun on the Isle of Lewis. Thousands of people have descended on the castle grounds in Stornoway, with some of the traditional music scene's best acts taking to the stage alongside indie legends James, who are headlining tonight. One member of the band hasn't travelled far for the festival. He says it's important for them to get out of the big cities to perform.
Scotland is more than Edinburgh and Glasgow. You know, I live in Ullapool. You know, it's a 10-minute to my house to the ferry, which is amazing coming over here. There's a whole vast part of the British Isles which goes beyond the Central Belt, and it's stunning. And there's people there that have supported James over the years, and it's only right that we come to them. And it's what a joy, what a beautiful place to play.
Now it's over to David Wallace-Lockhart to find out what's happening on BBC Scotland at 7 o'clock.
On the 7 tonight, we'll bring you more in-depth analysis of that IT outage that's caused chaos across the world. I'll also be talking to one veteran who was forced to hide the fact that he was gay for 30 of the years he spent in the military. And more than 3 years on from the Kenmure Street immigration enforcement protest, we hear from the filmmaker who's turning that day into a documentary. See you at 7.
In the meantime, we'll brace ourselves and find out what's going on with the weather.
Well, actually, 24 degrees in the northeast Riviera today, so not bad up there at all. And we hold on to that muggy, humid air tonight. I'll show you the combined pressure chart and air mass graphic, excuse me. These deep oranges indicating that humid air that we've been seeing over the last few days. This weather front eventually gets itself together as a cold front, slowly making its way across the country tomorrow, clearing away tomorrow night, and it will introduce much fresh air, and behind it also a ridge of high pressure as well. Now, as far as tonight's concerned, a fair bit of cloud in the west with outbreaks of rain. That's the first signs of our front. In the east, there'll be some sunshine and clear spells, but generally starting to cloud over, turning misty and murky again. The winds easing for the west coast. Very humid tonight, holding up at around 15, 16 Celsius, leading us into a muggy start to the day. Quite grey as well, with our weather front lying across western and northern Scotland. Some heavy rain for a time before easing a wee bit for the afternoon. Over the Northern Isles, there will be a bit of cloud for Shetland, maybe the odd light shower pushing through on quite a brisk southerly wind. Similarly, for probably drier actually for Orkney, 17, 18 Celsius. Still that warm, humid air across eastern Scotland, where we'll see the best of the sunshine. 23 degrees for the northeast and maybe down towards the borders. But we've picked up on more in the way of clouds. Some rain just making its way into the border area and that thicker cloud. But lighter winds for the Open tomorrow, I'm glad to say, and rain maybe arriving here later. The rain starting to pep up along the west coast. So if you're thinking of heading to the hills tomorrow, well, it does start off dry with some early brightness, but cloud will increase. We'll see rain extending into the west and moving eastward slowly during the course of the day. With it becomes misty, murky, low cloud conditions, and we'll see quite extensive hill fog hampering visibility. So on balance, Sunday is probably the better of the 2 days. Winds as well for coming in from the west, bringing fresher conditions. And as we head into the last part of the day, that rain's starting to gather in the west and south, making its way slowly across the country. Some heavy bursts during the overnight period as that cold front clears away, becoming confined to the Northern Isles and just to the northeast of the mainland. Behind it, something drier and brighter for HebCelt tomorrow evening, I'm glad to say. Celts. Thank you. And then we'll see clearer skies spreading right across the country as well, with that fresher air coming in from the west. That was Sally there giving me a wee heads up. 1 or 2 showers in that westerly flow on Sunday, but a much brighter day, a fresher feel. A bit more in the way of cloud coming into the west, but all in all, a pleasant day. Temperature-wise, you'll notice the difference, but still around about what we'd expect at this time of year. And apologies for that.
Oh no, I spell it with a K, so I remember. Anne McAlpine will be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight. But until then, from everyone in the team, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.